Yo, people, welcome back to On Track GP. Myself and Joe in the building. Listen, we're reacting to a mad Spa qualifying session. First of all, bro, before we get into it, how are you feeling? How are you doing?
Good, man. I mean, I remember when we did the preview, which, fun enough, I think was the first time I ever met you. You said that this is your favorite race
Track.
of the year.
Yeah.
So I'm buzzing that we're doing this together, and I'm seeing you Sunday for the main race as well, because I know that you love this place. So I'm really glad that we're doing this together, mate.
Yeah, man, I love this track. I feel like this track just gives me goosebumps, and it can't really be a boring race day. And speaking of, who's sitting on pole after setting a gap of 8 tenths? And by the way, in Q2, he was looking like he was going to go out because he was on the precipice of going out, and he was lucky that Magnussen and a few others, Gasly, didn't improve on their times. Otherwise, Verstappen would have been out in Q2, and he was fuming on radio, going back and forth. With behind the scenes, and then of course he reasserts his dominance by going eight tenths faster, but because of the 5th place grid penalty, he's gonna start 6th. He could have been starting way further back in the grid. How are you reacting to that one?
Well, this is the thing, mate. If Verstappen hadn't snuck through, he'd have been starting 15th. Can you imagine? He's starting 15th. So he's done very well to make it actually not so bad and starting 6th. But out of nowhere, mate, Charles Leclerc started on pole. I was like, whoa. I was like, what? Hold on. Has this actually just happened? Like, buzzing. Obviously, Ferrari fan, absolutely ecstatic with that. But the fact that Max Verstappen is setting 8 tenths quicker than the next quickest car, 9 tenths quicker than Perez.
Yeah, ridiculous.
That is terrifying. And I mean, particularly at a track like Spa where it's overtake heaven, that Red Bull, I think, could clean up tomorrow.
Yeah, no, I think so too. I think Verstappen, if he had been starting maybe P15, maybe then we could have said, okay, who could win this race? Because that's a long way to come back. But starting in the position he's in, I don't really expect anything other than a Verstappen win, especially when he sets a time like that. And then he was like, "Oh, sorry for getting so angry on radio. I'm cool now. We put together a good time." But let's also go to Perez, who actually put in a decent performance, I guess you could say. At least he's starting in a respectable position.
Well, he starts on the front row, doesn't he, tomorrow by default, because Max away, but qualifies the car 3rd, which is the least that he should be doing with it. And he's doing the basics right at last, so he'll be happy with that. I think actually Perez is the one car tomorrow that Max Verstappen might have to worry about. I say that because they're in the same car, right? And we know that Perez hasn't had a great last couple of months, but he's not an idiot, Sergio Perez. He knows what he's doing in a car, and if he can get himself up the front, it'll be interesting to see whether Red Bull would outwardly prioritize Sergio Perez if he was in front, or if they prioritize Max because they know that he's basically won the drivers anyway. But it's interesting. That could be quite an interesting thing down the line. I'm assuming that the Red Bull is going to be so much quicker than all the other cars. We've got Leclerc in there, Hamilton and Sainz will be in his way as well. So we'll see.
I feel like if Verstappen gets to 2nd and Perez has maybe done Leclerc and got himself into 1st, they're going to look at who's setting the fastest times. And that's where I worry for Perez, because he's, like you said, he's 9 tenths off of his teammate there. That's a lot. So that's almost a second there off your teammate in qualifying. And we know that Verstappen, like you said, is going for the Drivers' Championship. I think it's a clear 1-2 now in that paddock. I don't think it's even a discussion.
I agree.
So I think with the way Perez has been performing this season, I don't think you could even have any qualms if they prioritize Verstappen, but they may not even have to. I think if Verstappen gets DRS on Perez on that long straight after a Rouge, I think it's over anyway. So I think Perez, a couple months ago, I would have said this is a great opportunity to prove that you're, able to compete with Verstappen. You're starting, further ahead than him. You need to try and win and keep him out. But the stocks have dropped ever since that moment. I'm a little bit disappointed in McLaren. McLaren were looking really strong, and then they just get a 6 and 7. Like I was expecting more from McLaren.
We say this a lot, to be fair, in F1, don't we? When a team has a spike and then they drop off. We said it a little bit with Aston Martin a couple of months ago. They started unbelievably well, and then we went, we were expecting more from them. But actually, if you look back a season ago, Aston Martin is still outperforming what they did. And if you look back a month and a half ago, McLaren qualifying 6th and 7th, we'd have been going, that is one of the results of the season. So that really shows how far McLaren have come on in the last few weeks. But I agree, mate. I agree. I think they'll put,
because Piastri was setting some great times. He was looking like as if he could potentially be on the front row.
I really like Oscar Piastri, man. What a rookie he is. He's a special talent. And I'm really excited. I think their car is still going to be quick tomorrow. They're going to be fighting with the Mercedes, maybe even with the Ferraris, depending on how quick Sainz gets off the mark and whether Leclerc can hold his position up there. So we'll see. But I agree. They will be disappointed with the 6th and 7th, but let's take that with a pinch of salt because look where they've come. Look where they've come from. It's brilliant.
Before we go to Russell and Aston Martin, as a Ferrari fan for yourself, are you confident of a race win, or not even confident, but are you thinking about a race win? What are you thinking about? Podium?
No. No, we will not win a race this year.
You're me with Hamilton last weekend. That's literally the same thing as me with Hamilton last weekend. When he was
honestly, no. Ferrari, I will be gobsmacked in your words, gobsmacked. If Ferrari win a race this year, I can't see that. I can't see that happening. I don't think we're quick enough, and I think McLarens are quicker than us. I think Mercedes are quicker than us, and I think obviously the Red Bull is quicker than us. That said, this is a good track for Ferrari. It's always been a good track for Ferrari. I think they have the most pole positions ever at this track out of any of the teams. And Leclerc is starting on pole position. So we'll see. But I think realistically, my expectations for Ferrari have dipped dramatically in the last couple of months. And I don't see us winning a race this year, no.
Yeah. Russell not in the strongest position as well. Pretty far down in Q3. And also Stroll didn't even get to put out a time from what I could see there. He didn't even... He was just too late to get to the starting line. And it was a little bit of a slow one as well. Like it felt like they all left a bit later than they should. And Perez was backed up at the end of that queue, and he managed to jump Aston Martin there and get himself going into Q3 a lot faster than them. But Stroll, I don't think Stroll get to put in a time because it just I think Russell was the last one to get over the line in time, a couple of seconds spare.
It was a good quali because we saw them change tyre. We saw the track dramatically drying as they went through it. And look, we can expect rain all weekend. This is Spa. It's like, I swear, that place is like a magnet for water. Every year it's crazy and wet. And that could be something that affects it tomorrow. Because if we see somebody, late break into the first corner and it's raining and they smash up a couple of cars or whatever, the order's and they red flag it, the order's completely...
And we saw it in F2 earlier as well. There was a wet patch in one part of the track which was messing up with the tyre choice of the rest of the track being fairly drier, so that could also play a part as well.
Yeah, exactly, man. And this track is so big, it can be raining at one side and completely dry at the other, and then you've got to make a decision: do we go for the inters, do we go for the wets, do we go for the slicks? So that's really interesting. But again, Mercedes is... Hamilton's done okay qualifying, on the second row, third position, due to Max dropping back, but Russell not so good starting in 8th. He'll be very, very disappointed with that.
Yeah, well, obviously the cars that left Q2, we have Tsunoda and Ocon, and we have Gasly and Bottas and Magnussen, and obviously on Alpine, I mean, what a day! What was your? Because obviously I know you did the reaction earlier as well.
Yeah,
I was shocked. I couldn't believe it. That was kind of came out of nowhere, and there's been jokes being made that really the only two left in that Alpine team is actually just the drivers. Are they going to be able to do a pit stop? Are they even be able to do a pit stop on the weekend? Yeah,
Philippe Cruz has come in and gone, sack. You drivers are French. You can stay for a bit. I don't know. No. I think ultimately it's the right decision. Alpine desperately need a shake-up with 2 double DNFs back-to-back. The point scoring hasn't been good enough. We all expected them to be better this season. I remember sitting down at the start of the season and saying, they could have a real shot at being the 4th fastest team, and they're like the 6th fastest team at the minute, man. Like, it's not good. No. So I was surprised initially, but when you look at the statistics,
double DNF is actually ridiculous.
Yeah. So
I remember when we were saying it after the race. I think in the last race, we were like, "Wow, that is mad! 0 points from the last 2 races from both. Like, it's just insane.
Not even across the line.
You're not even across. It's crazy. It's actually ridiculous when you think about it. And also Ricardo.
I feel so sorry for him.
I have to bring it up before we come to a close. I'm quite surprised in Hülkenberg as well, because Hülkenberg's been qualifying quite well recently. He starts at the back of the grid. Albon as well. We've been given a lot of praise to him. He was out in Q1, but Ricardo, man, he had a time. He was out at Q1, and then next thing you know, bang, track limits, and you're staying in the first round, and you're starting from way behind your teammate as well.
Yeah, he'll be so disappointed with that, because I think realistically, starting from, where is he, 18th, 19th? and 19th, it's very unlikely that he's going to be able to shoot his way through the grid and score any points. Tsunoda, on the other hand, absolutely could, starting from 11th. But I'm sad for Ricciardo, because I think this could have been a track, even in a weak car, where he could have gone and made something of it. And it's just, unfortunately, a silly mistake of track limits that costs him having that chance to score his first points back in F1. So it's tough, really tough.
We were seeing a lot of oversteer as well today. It was like a lot of issues. Hydraulics problem for Hülkenberg towards the end of his session, which stopped him from setting a time. Like we said, we saw that Ricciardo obviously had his time deleted as well. So there was a couple of little moments where it was a bit shaky, even with, like we said, with Verstappen just getting out of Q2, like his little oversteers and a little bit of shaky moments as well. He didn't seem too comfortable in the car. So like you said, Spa can always give you crazy weather. When was the last time it was even dry at Spa? Is a better question, to be honest.
About 1956, I think it was.
When was the last time we just had a sunny day at Spa? It's actually
honestly, man.
So it's gonna be a crazy race. Before we wrap up, what's gonna be your prediction for your front three, your podium positions?
Max, Sergio, Charles. I think Ferrari can look to get a podium tomorrow if Charles can just keep things tidy. But I think Max will come through and kill it. I mean, I slightly hope he does, because I've used my triple captain on him this weekend on F1 Fantasy, so I need those points. So I think Max, Sergio, and then Charles Leclerc for me. And don't forget, mate, we've also got the sprint tomorrow. So forget what happened today. We've got the sprint tomorrow, and potentially, if you win the sprint, 8 points on offer, and it's a kind of
they got the sprint qualifying for the sprint.
It's a lot, isn't it?
The SQ1, SQ2, SQ3. For the newbies, I feel so sorry for you, because you must be confused, discombobulated. Do you know what I mean? Now you got a sprint race. We'll see how many points are accumulated for each driver in that, and then obviously we go to the main race. I'm actually going to agree with you. I think that's a great prediction. I want to push Hamilton higher, but nah. I think Leclerc and Ferrari they put together a good time today, and I think if Perez is not on the podium, then he's in big trouble again. I keep saying it. Like, he's been getting driver of the days for having the most overtakes and rising from his own ruins, but it's not it's not really what it should be, considering he's actually meant to be up there in the first place. He shouldn't be coming from 10th and 9th. So yeah, but listen, let's see what happens. It's going to be a great race. The sprint is going to be very interesting as well. But guys, make sure you smash up the like, subscribe to On Track GP, and we will see you guys next time. In a bit, people. Peace.